Hey, what's going on, y'all? So, I want to talk about Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 16, not my Final Fantasy. That's not Final Fantasy. That's some bullshit. All right, so let's talk about the successes and the failures behind Final Fantasy 16 from an objective point of view. Um, I've been a Final Fantasy fan for quite a long time. I have played a bit of at least every one. I've been playing them since one. I did not play them to completion in their entirety. There were certain ones that I did steer away from. Final Fantasy 13 was kind of a weird, came out in a weird point of my life, and I started it and it didn't really grip me. I'm not going to say it's a bad game because I think that each and every Final Fantasy has different aspects that everybody can enjoy in their own ways, or maybe not, and that one in particular is not for them. Final Fantasy as a whole, I should say, rather, has aspects about it that everybody can enjoy. Um, they just probably haven't experienced the right one yet. Uh, and I think that it's important to remember that each and every Final Fantasy builds on, changes different mechanics, um, is a completely unique storyline unless they do sequels within each numbered Final Fantasy, like 13, 2, 3, etc., 10, 2. But you get the idea. Each and every Final Fantasy, 1, 2, 3, etc., is a completely different universe. Maybe they share some similarities here and there, a little bit of crossover, but as a whole, it's a different experience each and every time. Um, so why are people complaining that Final Fantasy 16 is not Final Fantasy? Uh, maybe I'm missing something, a little context, but I believe it's because of the way the game is presented, because it's more of an action combat Final Fantasy. Um, at least Square Enix is marketing the game as the first action Final Fantasy, which is not true at all. Which I will double back to in a second. That thing really annoys me that they did that. But yeah, I'm just not sure. Maybe the aesthetic is different. I don't know. Like, it really doesn't make any sense. When you think about each Final Fantasy, in progression, save for 9, each one strove for a different level of graphic fidelity. They improved the graphics. They improved upon um, the overall aesthetic, um, shooting for reality, whether it was more of a medieval tone or a modern tone. It doesn't matter. They've gone back and forth. The Final Fantasy VII was more of a modern sci-fi fantasy, whereas um, what is it? 15's more modern. 16 is more of a medieval, has more medieval tones. When you go back to 9, was more of a medieval setting. 8 was more modern. Um, 6 was kind of like it's more of like a present day, I'd say. Um, but you get the idea. As you go further back, they start going back into more of the medieval, older tones. But they are, it's always changing. So I don't understand why anyone would say like the theme has anything to do with it not being a Final Fantasy. Like aesthetically, for all intents and purposes, it's a Final Fantasy. So yeah, I really don't get it. Um, People need to get over the fact that it's action based, because again, it's not the first action based Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 15 was the first action based Final Fantasy proper. But even going further back, the ATB system was to add a more active environment to the turn based system. Now, I know a lot of people aren't going to consider ATB active, action combat, which it isn't. but it does present a more active element to the battles, to turn-based, where you not just sitting there able to think endlessly. What should I do? Should I use fire? Or should I use lightning? Or should I just use an attack? Or should I heal my team? I don't know. What should I do here? Let me think about it for 20 minutes. You know what? I'm gonna go walk away and take a walk and come back. Traditionally, in old turn-based combat, that's how it was. But the implementation of the ATB system made it so if the longer you took to think about it, the more the enemy was going to beat on your ass. So it was like, okay, well now I got to think a little bit more on my toes. I got to think faster now because of this ATB system. And you could turn the speed up on the ATB system as well for the people that wanted to make it more, quicker, to have to think quicker and a little bit more active or action based. But again, the action combat more properly came in Final Fantasy 15, which was the first Final Fantasy that was advertised as Final Fantasy for fans and first timers, which is a great tagline, and I hope they continue using it moving on. But in going into 16, when they say stuff like Final Fantasy 16 for fans and first timers, the first action-based Final Fantasy, like the first mature Final Fantasy. Like, no, that's not true at all. That's not true at all, and that's what is annoying. I think that's what more people need to focus on. Like, why are you underselling yourselves when you've done more mature tones in the past? They had to cut scenes out of Final Fantasy 15 because they were a little bit overboard, a little bit too mature. In Final Fantasy 7, going back, Barrett was cursing all over the place. Sure, they didn't write out the words, but come on, we all know he was cursing. Every other fucking line was a shit or a fuck coming out of Barrett. So to talk about, like the whole storyline with Marlene and dying, her real father dying and all that stuff, like Aerith dying, Luna Freya and Noctis dying, everybody's dying, like in Final Fantasy left and right. These games are not all sunshine and rainbows. They've been dark and mature all along. It's just hidden well within the depth of the storyline, and masked in essence by the gameplay, by having fun with the combat and the music and getting involved in the world. So you don't think about all those things. You just, as a whole, you end up enjoying the game, and then you look at this Final Fantasy 16 like, oh, it's so dark and they're cursing a lot. It's so mature. They've never done this before. Yes, they have. So stop it. That's the fucking annoying thing, in my opinion. So this is absolutely Final Fantasy 16 is absolutely a Final Fantasy, right? But the failures for Final Fantasy 16 come in the things I'm about to get into here. First of all, the personal offense that I think a lot of fans take when they advertise Final Fantasy 16 as the first Final Fantasy to do this and that and that and that and that, when it's not really. Like, come on, stop that. They're just basically using buzzwords to try to grip new fans instead of being like, instead of utilizing that to be like, hey, you know what you like about Final Fantasy 16? Well, guess what? We got the idea from this Final Fantasy back in the day. Maybe you'll like that as well. So I feel like they're kind of overshadowing their old games with Final Fantasy 16, and that's a huge problem. Like, in trying to build up Final Fantasy 16, they're effectively overshadowing their older games, and for people that have played them a long time and are very passionate about them, it's like, why are you doing this? Stop that. That's gross. Don't be like that, Square Enix. Come on, your games have always been great, and people are just misguided and misinformed. So let's try to get them, more of them included, which is what they want. They want to build an audience. Yet, however, problem number two, they stay exclusive to Sony. Stop this, Square Enix. Stop. I didn't play Final Fantasy 16. I'm going to be honest with you. Now, if that offends you and you think that I'm automatically, disqualified from talking about Final Fantasy 16, well, fine, fair enough, but please continue to hear me out because you might still agree with what I have to say. Because I'm not saying Final Fantasy 16 is a bad game. It looks like a great game, and it definitely does look like Final Fantasy that I would love to enjoy. That's my problem. I can't enjoy it because I can't afford yet another $500, $600 console. I don't want to do this constantly. You have to scale your games for every platform and stop. You gotta pull your dick out of the door, Square Enix. Stop staying exclusive to Sony. You are shortchanging yourself and your fans. People that, instead of spending $500 or $600 on a Sony console every few years, how about I buy 10 of your games? Or more if they're older games. I could buy 30 of your games. Square, wake up. Stop staying exclusive to Sony and provide your products to all your fans. Scale them for everything. PC, console, even mobile. It doesn't have to, if it's too hard to implement a full game on mobile, implement features on mobile that coincide with your game. Like inventory management, side quest, crafting or something. Just simple features like that. So while they're on the go, they can manage their inventory, maybe send their characters off on quests while they're AFK offline on the game. Interesting features like that. But scale your games for every device, every platform, or you're going to be comparing sales records. Well, Final Fantasy 16 compared to Final Fantasy 15 with how many people have Sony PlayStations at the time and this and that and what the fuck? Why are we doing this? Release your game for every device and compare sales across the board. Why are you so devoted to Sony? You think that taking their payout for being exclusive is the right move in profitability? No. If I were an investor in Square Enix and they refused to change this methodology, this trajectory that they're going in, I would pull out. I would stop investing in Square Enix because they're out of touch and they don't know what they're doing. But maybe I'm wrong because they have shown signs of changing. So maybe they're capable of changing. And the important thing is they need to listen to feedback from fans. They need to listen to feedback like this. Whether you think I'm wrong or not. We can agree to disagree. But look, this is coming from somebody that has been a fan of Final Fantasy for my entire life. I'm turning 40 this year. I've been playing Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy 1. I can't play Final Fantasy 16 because I'm done with this Sony shit. I have a PC right here that can play Diablo 4, that can play D4 Bad, but it can play relevant current games. Why do I need to spend $500 plus the $60 for a game to play your game? Square, please stop this. This is why Final Fantasy 16 is effectively a failure. It may have slightly exceeded your expectations in sales and profits because of the exclusivity pay as well. But what are you comparing it to? Nothing. You haven't tried launching a mainline Final Fantasy across all platforms in years. You need to do it. Challenge yourself. You hemorrhage money on these weird companies that make games like Forspoken and Avengers. Massive failures, massive hemorrhaging of money that could have gone into Final Fantasy, making Final Fantasy for everybody, putting it on every platform. So Final Fantasy 16, I'm sure it's a great game, and I would love to play it. I want to play it, but I can't. So help me out, Square Enix. Break your exclusivity mindset. Please put your game on PC. Treat your Final Fantasies better. Final Fantasy fans deserve better. It is an amazing series. Each and every story is unique. The music is captivating, and you're doing yourself. I'm repeating myself here, but yeah, I can't stress it enough. You're doing yourselves and your fans a disservice by not putting your games on all platforms. So, Final Fantasy 16, while it may be a good game, and I encourage people that are either are Final Fantasy fans or not, if you have a PlayStation 5, to go try it. But I also encourage Final Fantasy fans, if you do not have a console, to speak out. Email them, contact them on Twitter, whatever their socials, pop into their streams and say, hey, stop the Sony exclusivity. Come on. Let's start encouraging them to be better and to care about us more. Because if they don't, then what are they? You know, how are they any better than like Bungie or Blizzard, who keep showing time and time again they don't care about their fans? It seems that the only time Square Enix cares about their fans is when Yoshi P is at the helm. But Yoshi P is just a man that's doing his job. Anybody is capable of like doing that job and interacting with fans and being a part of the community he is leading. And that's the difference between Yoshi P and other executives and community managers. And in essence, he's cemented himself as part of the community. He cares about his fans. But anybody is capable of that. So it's so annoying that like Square Enix is mutually like praised and condemned for like the same shit. Basically, people don't really know what they're talking about. Their emotions are unchecked, their aggressions are misguided, and so let's try to be constructive here. Final Fantasy 16 is a great game, but is it a commercial success? I would say no. It is not. It is a catastrophic failure because, yet again, they stayed exclusive to Sony. And a single game and a single game company is not worth buying a whole console for. If you already have the console, great. But it's really not worth it. And I'm not even a PC absolutist. I love consoles. I love controller play. I love plug and play, ease of access. But I like, in all honesty, I think consoles are a waste. They're a waste of money nowadays. Learn how to use a computer. Spend the money on a computer. It'll last you a lot longer. This laptop is from 2016, 2017. And it can still run relevant games. Now, I can't stream and play Diablo at the same time, but hey, you win some, you lose some. The fact that I can play a AAA game from this year on a 7-year-old computer running a 1050 Ti. You know how much money I've saved not having to buy new consoles or even a new PC? So much money that I can comfortably buy my next PC when I do. I'm not saying I have the money to do that, but you know, it is what it is. You get the point, right? So this video is long enough. That's my thoughts on Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy as a whole. Again, I don't know if I even showed this, but that is Kefka. That is a Kefka tattoo. It's not complete. Again, I'm out of money, so things are expensive, but it's pretty fucking badass. I wouldn't have got that if I wasn't a diehard fan, right? So, if you don't think that my opinions are credible, I don't know whose are. You know, what do you gotta do? Anyway, If you like the video, if you agree or disagree, let me know down below. Please subscribe. I need help getting subscriptions to get this channel monetized in the future. So please help me out, even if you don't turn on the notifications and you don't watch every video. It's fine. I'm completely fine with that. Even the smallest amount of support goes a long way. So thank you to everyone that has subscribed thus far and watched my videos because I have gotten plenty of watch time. So I do appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, get out there, play some Final Fantasies. And Square, come on, PC, all consoles. Let's go, baby. All right, peace out, everyone. Have a good night.